My name is Kasjan Kotynia, and today I'm going to tell you more about understanding the API-based platforms. So the value that I want you to gain from this presentation is to understand what are the API-based platforms, what kind of benefit they can bring to you, not only in terms of in terms of the company that I'm working for, but based on different requirements your solutions might have, that your solutions might be struggling with, and how to introduce the solutions to your problems easier. So yeah, my role in the organization is lead technical account manager. So my responsibility in the company is to talk with the customers, explain what VoucherFI does, how VoucherFI can resolve some of the use cases that our customers are trying to resolve using VoucherFI. I'm in touch with the development team during the integration phase of the project with their developers. So this is what I do. This is what I do for a living. And I'm not working only with VoucherFI, but I'm also have some knowledge about other API-based tools, other headless tools on the market. And regarding what VoucherFI is, regarding the company that I'm representing, VoucherFI is an API-based solution that allows to introduce promotions into your application. The value that we bring, the value that you can get from using VoucherFI is to introduce this platform, introduce vouchers, discount coupon codes, introduce referral campaigns into your system easier, faster, so it can impact your time to market, because you can introduce even the complex functionalities quite easy, quite fast, even sometimes well, in just a couple of weeks. So what we are going to do today, I'm going to talk more about the API-based approach. I'm going to let you know. I'm going to ask you a few questions I'm going to provide some questions that might help you understand if you should use the API-based tools in your application, and finally, what you need to do to evaluate if the API-based solution is something that you might use in your application. So let me just ask a question: why should you care? Why I think that the API-based approach might be important for you? The mission of your company, the mission of the company, the mission of you in your company is to bring value. And you have to bring value to your customers, you have to bring value to your company, you have to bring value to your stakeholders. And the value itself, the mission of your company itself can be different depending on the projects you are in. So if you are an airplane company that provides the ability to travel all over the world, then your mission, the value that you bring to the world, the change that you bring to your customers is to making it easy, enjoyable, and affordable to travel again and again for business and for holidays. So this is what you do. This is what's important for your company. This is the change that you bring. If you are a mobility provider, then you want to provide sustainable mobility, joyful for everyone. This is the change that you need to introduce that makes your company outstand from the competition. If you are creating small kitchen appliances, you want them to have the best quality. That makes you tick. That is something important for you. That is something that you bring to your customers, and that's why your customers enjoy using your products. However, bringing value is quite costly, and there are some costs that are fun. There are some costs that make you tick. There are some costs that are enjoyable for you, because this is something that you want to work on. This is something that is important for your company. And the value or the costs of bringing value can be different depending on the company, depending on the industry. So what can make you tick? You can be an expert on plane design. This is something that you want to do. Having a great design of your plane makes the flight more enjoyable to your customers, and it can directly bring value to your customers and make your company earn money. You have to have a well-trained staff, which you also might It also might be quite enjoyable for you. If you provide the mobility features, the mobility solutions, then you want to have electric transport vehicles that have a long-lasting battery, because this is something that will make you outstand of your competition, including, for example, allowing your customers to use your scooters, to use your e-bikes as an alternative to using cars. So this is how you, this is what makes you stand out from the competition. And yeah, if you are providing the quality, the kitchen appliances, you want them to be the best, to have the best quality, provide some new features to them. So for example, Thermomixes, you want to introduce some coffee machines that are the best quality, that give you the best flavor. So this is something that you want to put your money on, because this brings you value directly, this brings you money directly. However, there are some costs of generating value that are technical, that are necessary for you to make your company work. You have to think about the law. You have to think about, for example, GDPR. Having your company GDPR compliant does not bring you value directly. It's something that you need to do so that, well, the government won't shut you down. You have to think about, if you provide your solutions to the market all over the world, you have to think about the different regulations that you have to conform to. There are some customer expectations. Even if your solution does not really need a web application or it doesn't need a web page, then there is an expectation that your product will have a web page that is neat, and we are just, as customers, judging the book by its cover. If you don't have a web page, if you don't have a neat web page, then probably some customers are not going to use your solution. So even if it's not necessary for you to bring the value, it's something that you need to provide to your customers, because they will just drop out. If you have a mobile application, or some customers expect a mobile application. Even today we are using Gridly, so it's the application that Wayscon wants you to use, for example, to talk with each other, to see what's the agenda for today. There is some costs regarding the customer management, the customer relationship. You want to stay in touch with your customers. All of those actions take time, take resources. They are quite costly. And also there are some technical things you have to think about. Think about the development team. Think about when you introduce the solution, how you are going to maintain it. So those are different things you have to think about when introducing your solutions. If you are in the industry for some time, I believe that you will see that some of the technical costs are the same for every company, are the same for every product, and you are just reinventing the wheel again and again. But it's not something that has to be done all the time. We already are using some tools that reduce the cost. So if you, for example, introduce, try to start a new product, when you start a new project, then you are not starting with creating a product management tool. You are using Jira, you are using Basecamp, you are using some other tools that allow you to manage your development work. You are using Salesforce for managing your customers. You are using Zapier for making simple integrations. You are using HubSpot, MS Teams, you are using Slack for communication. You are using Zoom, you are using Skype. So you already are using some tools that are on the market for easier communication that you didn't have to own, that you didn't have to develop, but you are still getting value from it. You are just reducing the costs because you don't have to create those different tools. And that's the same for logic. If you have some, companies that you want to, if you are in a company that is providing value in a specific way, and you need to provide another necessity that it's not really bringing value directly, you can think about introducing a solution that will make that logic for you. And this is where we can introduce the API-based solutions. So, like Jira, like Salesforce, like Zoom, there are some solutions that are making the logic for you. Using the APIs, so the application programming interface, you can just send out some information to an external service, to an external tool that was developed by a lot of people, by a company that was making all of the necessary preparations. They were making They were just creating different kinds of functionalities that are already on the market, that are already in that specific tool, and use them to your heart's content. So you don't have to introduce a new project or start creating a new project for managing your promotions, for managing for creating a search engine. You don't have to do that because there is already a solution that you can use. And maybe to explain it a bit more, and I heard yesterday that this is just the usual case, how to explain the API-based approach. Let me just tell you that if you are going to a restaurant, this process of choosing a restaurant, the process of choosing what kind of meals you want to eat, it's also something that is similar to the API-based approach. Why? Because you are first putting some effort to decide which restaurant to use. Maybe someone referred that for you. You have to verify what is the cost of going to that restaurant. You have to think about what you need, what you want to eat, what you are hungry for. So this is something that you have some requirements regarding the restaurant. You are going to that restaurant asking the waiter for a meal, and the waiter is going to the kitchen asking for preparing for you that meal. You are giving away some responsibility for the meal to an external service, to an external group of people that is providing you the best quality for you and bringing you the meal back. So the kitchen can be an allegory to an external service and you don't have the knowledge about who are the people working in that kitchen. You don't have the information, you don't own that kitchen. You don't know what kind of kitchen appliances they are using. So you don't know anything about what's happening behind the door. And that's fine because you are not really interested in what's happening behind that. You just want to get the result, you just want to get that meal. And that's the same for the API-based approach. You are giving away part of the responsibility to an external service that's providing the best service of that kind, and just use the response, use the results that they calculated for you. And you can ask, well, how many companies are using this specific approach? Just to provide an example from VoucherFi, well, it's just the company that it's just something that I know from my company. VoucherFi itself, so the promotional engine itself, has over 400 customers all over the world, and we are not the only solution on the market. So there is a lot of different companies that didn't want to create a promotional engine from scratch. They just wanted to use something that's available for them, use all of the functionalities that solution provides without the need to engage with the development team, without the need to create a specific set of requirements, wait for those functionalities to come back, maintain servers. It's something that didn't make them tick. And just to provide a few examples, EasyJet. EasyJet is using VoucherFi to manage refunds to their customers. So they didn't want to create that from scratch. They just wanted to have something fast due to the pandemic, and it took them only 6 weeks to introduce introduce VoucherFi to their system. Regarding Tier Mobility, which I believe that you might know that company, they already used a solution that was not meeting their expectations. They were able to change the provider from their previous one to VoucherFi, reducing the costs, introducing some features that the previous solution was lacking. So you have the option to change the provider, you have the option to change the restaurant, and get value from this specific action. Finally, Brewell was creating a POC using VoucherFi, so their previous solution was not enough regarding what they had in mind to introduce their customers. And with VoucherFi, they were able to resolve all of their requirements without the need to create the promotional engine from scratch. And well, they will be expanding in some time. So, what are the benefits of using the API-based approach? First of all, you have access to the specialized services for the fraction of the cost. You don't own the kitchen, you don't own the service, but you are getting all of the benefits right now without the need to ask even your development team about those different functionalities that you require because they are already there. You are just using the results of the request that you send to that specific service. You have rapid development. If the service already supports one of the functionalities, then you can use it to your advantage, even right now. Modularity and scalability. every solution, every API-based solution can be scaled up. Usually it is hosted on some kind of a cloud, which you can, that can be extended to your heart's content. Cross-platform support, it doesn't really matter what kind of technical stack you have. It is just a matter of exchanging information between those systems. So even if you have a platform that has multiple clients, multiple servers on your end, if you are working with different stacks for different microservices, there's nothing stopping you to use the API to introduce the features from other API-based solutions. You have reduced maintenance costs. So you don't have to think about servers. You don't have to think about maintaining that specific tool. It's something that you just have by default that is managed by that company. And finally, because those solutions are usually API-based, they are headless, you have the knowledge with which functionalities are used in which functionalities are used most commonly, and take some action upon that. So, can you use the API-based approach? The short answer is, I believe you do. Because if you have, because the time when we had some monolithic solutions, monolithic applications is over, I believe. So to have a great scalability, to have better view on the maintenance of the application, then probably your application was already split into different microservices. And this is how most of the applications are done right now, which most of the services are working right now. Instead of having one unit that has all of the responsibility, you are splitting the responsibility into multiple units, and this allows you to even switch some of the microservices to your heart's content. So for a microservice approach, there is no difference if you own that specific microservice or if you are using a different solution that's on the market. It doesn't really matter in that approach. So if your solution understands API requests, if you can send out API requests to an external service and react to what the service is providing you back, then you should be able to introduce any kind of API solution that's on the market. Just to provide an example, just to explain what kind of solutions can you use even to create a simple web page. I cannot point you exactly what I want you to see, but even on this page you have a couple of functionalities that can be given to an external service that you don't have to think about in the long run. So in case of a product search that sometimes might be very complex, that may take a lot of time to receive the response from an API, from that search, instead of creating something from scratch, you can use Algolia and have that search functionality prepared for you, have that search functionality already introduced to your application. If you want to have a commerce experience, you don't have to create something from scratch. You don't have to think about what will happen if the customer adds an item to the cart. You don't have to think about how you are going to work with different taxes in different countries, how you are going to have different currency on different markets, because there is already a solution on the market that can help you out, like Emporix, like Commerce Tools, like BigCommerce. There are just a lot of different players that you can use, a lot of solutions that you can use. For content management, if you have a large organization and you have a lot of brands below it, then instead of having the same content copied from one place to another, you can use Contentful to manage your content and get it via the API. Promotions, Voucherify, you can introduce promotions with Voucherify service. And for example, to communicate with your customers, HubSpot, Braze, there are different kinds of tools that you can use. And to show an API example, let's say that how this would work, how the API looks like, what you can do with that API, how you can visualize the API response to your customers. Let's say that we want to make an API example, send out a request that will bring a different promotion depending on how much it is it raining right now. So you can ask, for example, OpenMeteo, which is free for a specific number of API requests. Hey, what's the weather in that specific place? What's the weather in Krakow? How much is it raining? So you can send to an endpoint the question, please provide me the forecast for Krakow, tell me if it's raining, provide me the forecast for 1 day, and OpenMeteo will give that information back for you in form of a JSON. So you have the information about the temperature, you have the information about how much is it raining. So in our case, 6 millimeters, it means that it's pouring rain. And this is the answer that we received from that specific service without needing to own that service. Then the result can be sent to VoucherFi. So we can ask VoucherFi, hey, it's raining in Krakow right now, what should we do? So we send even the same information that you receive from OpenMeteo. It's raining right now, we are in that specific city, we are in that specific brand, in that specific shop, and VoucherFi can return the answer. If it's raining, then let's discount the waterproof ponchos for our customers. So this is the information that you get back. What is the discount? What items should be discounted? You didn't have to make that logic for you. You didn't have to ask your developers to create the logic behind OpenMeteo or behind VoucherFi. It is just something that you have that you can use in your system. And finally, the result can be just translated into an image, it can be translated to a banner, it can be translated to a message for your customers to give them the best experience. What's important, you didn't have to create that logic, you didn't have to waste months of time of your development team to create that logic, you just react to the response given from that specific application. You might have some concerns regarding the API request, the API solutions. So let's say that you want to introduce to your system Emporix, you want to introduce to your system Algolia and so on. You might have some concerns on the way. So you are giving away part of the responsibility and you have no control over the development of that specific tool. That is true. But as a benefit, you are getting the combined solution of an entire team working for years on that solution. That is, let's say, the best on the market that you cannot recreate in a couple of months from now. You are just getting it already, you are getting it right now, and you can use them for your application. So you don't have to waste time on development. You don't have to waste your resources on creating this solution from scratch. You might have some you might have some concerns about GDPR. You want your application to be GDPR compliant. So what's the point of sending out your PII information about your customers to one external provider? So all of the tools that are created in European Union, they should be GDPR compliant. Even in the GDPR, you have a concept of a data processor. So you are using those external tools as the data processors. You will have to ask or read why are those tools GDPR compliant, what kind of functionalities they introduced for making them GDPR compliant. And in the end, if you have that knowledge, you can introduce those functionalities to your processes that will make your process GDPR compliant, because this is, in the end, something that you want to do. And in most cases, there are some ways to anonymize some of the data. So it's not something that you will have to well, there are some ways to anonymize the data, so there is some space to wiggle in terms of what kind of data should be sent between those two systems. Business continuity. You created your integration. Today, the service is working well. Tomorrow, the service goes bankrupt. So it's also a valid concern that you have to think about what will happen if your partner is going to go bankrupt. And usually those solutions have a business continuity plan. You can ask if there is a business continuity plan, and you can even go a step further and say, I'm only interested in solutions that are ISO 27001 certified, where this certification requires the business continuity in that specific case. You have to know the costs of that solution, because those solutions are not free. You have to know what those solutions are based on, what are they priced on, and what are the limits. So when the solution will ask you to, for example, upgrade to a higher tier, to a higher pricing tier, and think about the resources. Even if you introduced an API-based solution, you still have to have a development team to integrate that solution to your system. So but you just need fewer of those developers. You don't have to create a full project for managing your promotions, for managing your messaging, for managing your search engine. You just have to have a smaller team that will use the responses from the request you are sending to those different tools. Finally, how to evaluate if that solution would be best for you. How to evaluate if you really need that solution in your system. You have to define your goals and your requirements. It's something that you still need to do for any project that you are working with. You need to know what is the goal of the project. You need to know what kind of value you bring to your customers. So you need to know exactly what you need to bring to the table. And it's something that you still need to do if you want to evaluate the best solution in the market for your specific specific issue. If you have that, and probably you do, then you have to define the functionality gap. What I have right now, what I need to develop in my solution, what I need to develop without using the external provider, what is the functionality that I do not have right now, because you might have already part of the functionality. This functionality gap can be resolved by an API-based solution, by a headless solution that's on the market. And it's in your hands if you want to use that specific solution. You have to know what kind of functionalities are missing right now in your system. You can try to research what kinds of tools are on the market. I provided only a couple of examples what you can use, but there are many more. You can just type in promotional engines on Google and verify how many tools are there. You can verify what are the search engines available. You can verify what kinds of messaging tools are on the market right now. And you are going to receive a comprehensive list which you can choose the best option just for you. And if you don't know even where to start, you can have a look at the MAC Alliance. So MAC stands for Microservices, API-based, cloud-based and headless. So there is a large number of solutions that are under that umbrella that provide services for the issues that you might have in your projects. You have to evaluate the costs and benefits. What is the cost that you need to take to introduce this functionality gap in your system, in your current implementation? If you have that number, if you know how many developers you need to introduce the gap, if you know how much time you are going to spend on development, if you know how much money you are going to spend on maintenance, how long the maintenance, how long you will have to maintain that solution, then you have the information, the information that you can compare to the pricing of that specific platform that's already on the market. So you can get that information, you can compare it to, you can compare the cost, you can compare it also to the benefits that this solution provides. You have to verify the technical feasibility. Does your application allow you to introduce an API-based solution? You will have to ask your developers, how is it possible, what kind of performance you need, how many API requests might be needed to fill in that functionality gap. So it's something that you will have to ask around, ask your development team, ask those questions later on to the provider that you are shortlisting on, You have to verify the data privacy and security requirements that you have. So it's also something that you need to think about, what kind of data you want to share with your new provider. Specify the integration effort, how much time is going to need to introduce that API-based solution to your system. It's going to usually take less time, in all of the cases going to take less time, because you still don't have to create this specific solution from scratch. You are just using something that's already on the market. Verify your scalability, verify the scalability of the solution. So you know right now that you need, for example, 20,000 API requests per day. So this is your estimate. What will happen if your customer base grows? What happens if you need twice that amount of API requests, 5 times, maybe even 100 times more API requests in the long run? What will happen then? You have to verify. You can verify how this will also scale up with the costs. So you can ask the provider if it's possible to, for example, support those million API requests daily, and what will be the cost if that day happens at some point of time. And also ask about the support. So just in my case, just in case of OCHFI, when someone is integrating our solution to their system, there still needs to be some kind of research made by the developers. So the marketers have to be tough. We have to teach the developers how they should use the new application. You have to have a chat with the developers. They have to research what kind of API requests are there, when they should be used. It takes also some time to understand the new solution. So you can also ask the provider what are the different kinds of support, what kind of support they provide. Do they have a technical documentation? Do they provide some people who are going to join in the integration process? And if you know that, you can also benefit from the knowledge that the support brings to your development team, to your development process. And yeah, prepare a POC. A lot of those tools have a trial phase, so you can ask about providing you access to the solution. You don't really know how it works until you get your hands on it. You can verify. You can create a simple proof of concept of the headless of an application with the headless approach. You can ask your developers to just create a simple campaign, a simple, for example, promotional campaign. Connected to OpenMeteo, connected to Algolia, connected to Emporix, and even in that specific process that might take 1-2 weeks, maybe one sprint if you're using Scrum, then see the results, see how it works, if it works well enough for you, what kinds of benefits it brings. It can be a part of the research which kinds of solution will be the best. Even if you are comparing a couple of ones, then you can just compare different tools on the market and verify which tool works best for you. So if you have that knowledge, if you create that POC, you can then later on decide if you want to go with that service. You can estimate how many API requests you need to define, the pricing for that platform, and in the end, have the benefits of using the API-based approach solutions. So I believe this is it. I wanted to let you know about the API-based approach, what kind of benefits it brings, what kind of benefits it brings, what are the values that can be given to your platform, what is the process of introducing that specific solution to your integration. Part of that process can be handled by you, for example, without the need of introducing the development team. But in the end, if you have that, you can work with your development team, verify what's the best solution for you, and get the benefits sooner in comparison to what would it take if you'd be creating the whole solution from scratch. So this is all from my side. I will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kasjan. So, is there any question for you guys? I cannot see for now. Okay, so maybe I have one. What was the most difficult case when implementing API-based solution? Do you remember something from your experience?
Well, to answer that question, we'll have to think about the process of introducing the API-based solution to the platform. So, if you are an API-based solution, you want to cover as many cases as it is possible. So, if there are some use cases, even difficult use cases, as you mentioned, that we do not cover, that the customers are not happy about. It can be just a feature that we are lacking. It can be a security requirements that we are lacking. It might be a lack of ISO certification that also might be a requirement to introduce, for example, that solution to the market. Then the responsibility of the provider is to verify what is required and they will have to evolve. So it also happened with Voucherify. Voucherify is on the market for 8 years right now. We had little functionalities 8 years ago, and we are developing new features almost every day. We are trying to have some updates to the application even once and twice a day. So we are trying to keep up with what our customers need. So are there any difficult cases? Every case is unique. There are some cases that we support. There are some cases that we do not support and cannot be resolved using, for example, an additional coding from the customer's end. And this is where we just define the functionality gap that we have, not which our customers have, but that we have, and we are trying to fill in that gap. So to provide you an example, yeah, I can let you know that some time ago we didn't have the possibility to, for example, to apply multiple coupon codes at the same time, and it was required due to the change in the it was required in the change of the usage of Voucherify. So some customers were trying to use gift vouchers as a means of payment, combine them with some discount coupon codes, and it was impossible. So yeah, we made that possible in the end.